and welcome to Trucking Story. It's Bob Trucker here. We're on episode 12, and we've got a bit of excitement to talk about because this is the first episode using the 1.4 update, which, the biggest thing is the new lighting. I've talked about working through the beta on that before and participating in that, but now it is officially the game. They released it this week. So let's take a look and see what we'll do. Looks like we don't have a lot of variation in choices here. We've got several important deliveries and then a couple high value deliveries, but nothing with multiples. So we're just going to go ahead again to maximize things. We're going to select this empty pallet run from Coos Bay down to Roswell. And we'll go ahead and run that. Good news is it's not anything substantial like the harvester we had last time that is going to cause us some significant slowdowns or anything. So should be a pretty straightforward run here, and we will go ahead and get that done. Now we're also not getting paid a whole lot. It certainly wasn't the maximum payout. The one that was a high value cargo was nearly double this. Alright, so there we go. We've got some rain. Now I did notice, unfortunately, this is a Volvo I'm trying to figure out. I don't think I want to be that far over. I'm trying to make sure that I can see the mirror and drive, but I'll have to take a look at how things run. And yeah, these are terrible dashboards that really give us like no options. Okay, that's the cruise control setting that we want. So you can see things are a little bit, brighter. I think I'm going to pull the mirror up just because I don't know that I want to be that far over. And then shut off the GPS. We're half on gas. And then we're going to pull up the map here. I know we're passing some cities. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to start from Coos Bay if we weren't already there. All right, we've gone through Eureka, Ukiah. All right, so yeah, San Rafael, Oakland. Just surprised we hadn't discovered Oakland, but... And then we'll be going near Fresno and Bakersfield, but nothing really crazy or worth discovering, it looks like. So, alright, so we've got our lights on. It's 10:55 in the morning. So it looks like we're pulling away from a Walmart. Very similar to our first load that we had within the game. The exit's behind us, so I'm going to have to swing here and head in that direction. Am I going to be able to make this? I think so. Alright, I was going to say I need to turn on the wipers here. That trailer was close back there. I knew that was going to be a tight turn, so it's always amazing how sometimes some of these delivery points definitely are. They make you wonder how you can do anything.
Turn left.
All right, we need to turn left. We'll wait for the traffic to clear. Are they going to wait for us? Of course not. We've got some spray up from the tires. So, a rainy Tuesday morning here in Oregon. Whoa. Didn't realize I kind of should have remembered that they had just stopped. That was very close to an accident. I was looking the other way and pulling out. Alright. So, having played through with the update a little bit on another profile now that it's official, I am sad to report I don't know that they did a terrific job on fixing the lighting on the dashboards, which was a complaint that several of us had made, that it was definitely a challenge to see. And similarly, kind of knowing that the lights are on. So while the lighting system definitely does just give a more realistic view to the entire game world, it does take some getting used to. I guess I'll say that, because to my knowledge, there isn't a way, and I'm certainly not someone who's kind of hacking the game is really the wrong terminology, but basically trying to run it not as intended fully. I mean, again, obviously I've got mods, so we are still using the 8 mods that we had done in 1.39. I've not seen anything that shows that those don't function. I'm sure the textures and the reflections and so forth don't take advantage of the new lighting system on the vehicles and so forth. I'm just not, I guess, skilled enough to pick up the difference anyway. So, but you definitely can see in how the light works, and just, like I said, the brightness, and now as the sun's starting to come out after a rainstorm here, you can start to see some differences if you've kind of taken a look at things. And, maybe I'd encourage you to go back and look at some of the older episodes of the series that were running on the 1.39 engine or version of the game, and, take a look, given that we've gone through similar areas of the country. Again, we've certainly delivered to Coos Bay. You should be able to find what happened in those locations. So, if I recall, we were heading out of Coos Bay, and we're basically heading south down into California. So, I think opposite a way that took us up here before, because we've gone through Eureka and Ukiah, or Ukiah, or however you would say it. I don't know. But you can take a look and see. But I would say, the vegetation just kind of looks fuller, a little greener. And the good news is, thus far, I've certainly not seen any performance decrease. I know that was a big point the developers made in discussing the update in one of the blogs that they had posted about it. I don't know if it was the actual update release or one where they were talking specifically about the lighting and so forth, but I know they said a big thing was to try to keep the performance requirements, or the hardware requirements, very similar to what was needed for 1.39, because what they weren't trying to do was drive people to buy brand new computers to run the game. I think that's a good idea, because I think, frankly, as we've talked before, this is a pretty niche market. Likely not even people in the millions playing this. It's probably hundreds of thousands of people who are relatively committed to the platform. And so suddenly, say, creating a situation where some fraction of them, and who knows, would it be 10%, would it be 50%, would suddenly have to really consider, well, am I going to spend another $2,000 or $3,000 to get a game, or to get a computer to run a game that it's a $20 game at the end of the day. So, and I think that's a pretty hard sell. It's one thing if it's some massive franchise that they have millions of people that they're playing, and it's gonna do this massive shift in what the game feels like and so forth. But so I think it was a smart move by the developers. And again, from being able to appreciate the technical work that they've gone through, just being able to make such a big change, certainly speaks to the skill of the development staff as well, without starting to suddenly create a big tax on things. I've had conversations with folks, just if you go back through the history of computers and all the way in the beginning, I mean, obviously the programming and what was possible when PCs were just starting out and so forth, vastly different, which I don't think comes as a surprise to anybody, even if you have no technical background at all, but vastly different than what we have to do now. And as far as memory usage and so forth, I just believe there's been a trend, certainly, but I don't know that it was intentional, but it just made it easier for developers to be sloppy in utilization of hardware, specifically because it just suddenly became so much less expensive to take massive upgrades in hardware. And so, whether that be memory, hard drive space, processing power, anything really. And suddenly there was just more of this race for the top of how can I build the craziest capability into whatever product it is. CAD systems were notorious for that. Other products certainly did that, but you'd see things like Microsoft Office, and where developers had to sit there and be very careful because they had this amount of RAM they could run in, and that was really it, because it was just cost prohibitive. And so to expect users to have a lot more just didn't make financial sense if you wanted to sell your software. Companies like SCS basically to some degree are running in that mold, which is, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's not as if this game makes you feel like I'm operating in some giant polygon pixelated world, and man, if they would just take advantage of modern hardware, this would look so great. I mean, it looks terrific. And again, as a reminder, I have not, or not a reminder, but just to give you guys an update here, I've not changed the graphics settings that we had set in the game initially, so everything's the same. I'm still not maxed out anywhere near it as far as what the game can show us, where I do have the hardware limitation, as we talked about, because I do have a machine that's certainly probably ancient by any modern standards. So try to get by this truck with the coils, because obviously he's going to have a bit of a problem here. Whoops. I guess my cruise, I turned it back on, was a little bit less than I thought there. So I think this gets us to 60. Again, the Volvo display is not great. We do have a little bit of a undiscovered road that we're coming up on this entrance ramp. So just kind of proving our point that we have not come in this direction. I'm going to go ahead and grab the gas here, just so I can keep going as far as I can, and definitely get into the evening. So we will go ahead and quickly fill up here. Half tempted to not fill up just to make it almost like a NASCAR pit stop, but because it is already 2 p.m. and not really any reason. We're certainly not running it as an urgent delivery, and so definitely no reason to drive much at night, although I will probably go deeper into the night just to kind of give you a view of the lighting system at night. Whoops. I was going to say, I'm still drifting forward. Wow, this is a lot of traffic here in this little one-horse town. Alright. So we will head out and continue on down the road. So yeah, what I was discussing obviously was the graphics quality, and I would say, I see a little bit of an improvement, certainly. You can see some of the great shadows, or reflections, I'm sorry, in the window of that store. I know that was one of the areas they said they worked pretty hard on, was some improvements on reflections and things off of surfaces, like the surface of our truck and so forth. And I think those are a lot more obvious and prevalent in, if we had the capability to turn everything to ultra. I'm not quite sure that even some of those things are on, but if you look off to the right there, that's just the rocky coastline and the water. It looks pretty incredible, honestly. The road surface is nice. This again, we're in Oregon. You can certainly see a little bit of stutter in the frame rate as we go through the forest, but definitely not, unplayable or anything. Not even close in approaching that type of a situation. Oh, and of course, as soon as I turn on my cruise, we've got a 45-mile-an-hour turn. So yeah, this is the one thing. While we don't have a heavy load in it, we are able to come up to speed pretty quickly. Obviously, with the tightness of the turns in the road and so forth, we definitely have a situation here where it's still going to take us a little bit longer. Don't pull out. So I inched forward there. So, and I will say, there's definitely some, I guess I'll call them quirks that I've certainly noticed that have, I assume, are a result of the lighting system. Because the other changes are more, again, you've got a new Western Star truck that is available, the 49X. And you've got viewpoints in New Mexico, and honestly, I don't remember what the other state is. I think it's, no, I don't know what it is. I was going to say I think it's Wyoming, but Wyoming's not released, so it's certainly not that. But there were a couple states that they added viewpoints to. So again, in another profile, I had passed by several of those, hadn't stopped and taken a look at them, but they're definitely around, and at least relatively prevalent as you go by Albuquerque and that area now. Obviously, this run is taking us away from, well, I guess it's taking us toward that, and the end we'll pass through that. So, sorry. My head was going the opposite way, that we were starting from Southern California and then heading up north to Oregon, but we're doing the opposite, and we are actually delivering in New Mexico. So, we'll likely pass a few viewpoints. And so we'll see. If we're near one, we've got a truck at this point where I could pull in, and certainly take a peek at that. I know I've said at some point, I may do that just as part of our normal gameplay. So, right, 3:30 in the afternoon. I was going to say this is definitely a bit of a hill, so we're in our right lane to let people go by, but of course then when it changes, then we'll be sitting there trying to avoid an accident when we can suddenly merge back in, which is coming up before that next main turn to the right. So good news is the cars are dropping back. So yay AI, you're actually functioning intelligently for once. Alright, so I do believe the way the engine's running that I've got the cruise set properly to 60. It's not pushing me further, and it kind of keeps cycling between obviously accelerating and laying off and just letting the truck coast for a second. So I think we're good on the setting, but of course this route takes us through a lot of little towns that, now just as we're kind of moving along nicely for a bit, I'm sure right up here, here's a way station. Let's see. Are we going to have to stop? We are not. All right. I appreciate that. I will have a safe journey. And once again, we've not discovered either the way station or this side of the interstate, but that way and not really an interstate, but this side of this route. So we'll do that. But so yeah, hopefully you're, we've definitely got a lot of scenery, a lot of different texturing on the roads, walls, guardrails, where you can, maybe just start to assess yourself what you think of the new lighting system, how it's lighting the environment, making things look. So one thing I have not done yet is, travel through those notoriously difficult areas to render up in Idaho, for example, as we go by Boise, where we tend to always get the stop and so forth to see how the game behaves with the new update there. Now I have noticed, see, like the telephone lines off to the left, it has made them less smooth than 1.39 did on my hardware. And I think that's just because of the way the lighting interacts with things. But once again, I mean, the one thing I haven't done, and I don't know that I'm going to do on this profile and so forth, just because, again, I don't want to create any problems in our process here, because I haven't sat there and played with video settings to see, hey, can I move things up a bit and get that back to a similar capability? Because I think what I'd have to do is play with scaling, which is one of the more intensive points of the game, and I'm just assuming that very quickly, even with just a single jump up from 100% to 125%, that I probably would immediately start to see frame rate drop off. So I would be completely amazed if that were somehow improved by adding something that certainly is more complex and therefore more taxing on the hardware. Because again, while the developers said they worked hard not to require many changes, they in no way said that, hey, this doesn't take more horsepower to run than what you had before, because I think anybody would clearly understand that wouldn't be accurate and would almost be, well, it would probably likely be impossible to pull off. Because I think I had mentioned they had a pretty detailed document that included a lot of technical explanations of what they had ultimately done. that made it seem like, things that were rendered and very simply handled in the game is, and I apologize, I'm certainly not a graphics designer, so I'm gonna sound like an idiot here, but where things were really like one large piece and kind of faking out the environment to not be that complex to render. They've made them more complex to kind of handle the reflections appropriately and so forth, and so they've made that conscious decision to kind of make that trade at this point, which certainly, when you've got more items on the screen that need to be processed, logic just tells you it takes more processing power to do that, even though obviously the screen and the display of what's being rendered is the same real estate physically, but what's in that real estate has grown more complex. So alright, so finally heading out of town again, maybe get a little bit of a run here with full speed would be great. Obviously until we start, passing through Eureka and things like that, we know we're still, we're not in California. That was weird. There was like a missing. So now look at that blinking on the wall. That's the type of thing that didn't exist in 139, and that is obviously being caused by 1.40 for some reason. And so there are things like that I would say do take me out of the reality of the sim a bit, but once again, to some degree, I'm sure some of that would be improved. I'm thinking this jitteriness on the frame rate is these shadows of these trees across the road, because there's obviously a lot of trees, and once again, I just can't even imagine the complexity and what the system has to do to deal with those. But the fact that other than a little bit of abnormal look where it's not certainly smooth frame rate, we got through that relatively unscathed, which is pretty impressive for a major upgrade on the gaming platform. So very nice. So you'll start to see as we get into the sun going down, definitely I think that was one of the areas, sunset, and I'm assuming sunrise again, that the update's new enough that I've really only played probably less than an hour this week with it, and kind of played it with the concept of what I might want to bring up within these episodes here. But I assume sunrise would be similar, because obviously just from a different direction of where the sun is coming from. But I think those are the most noticeable changes, where you really can start to see in the game the lighting differences, because it's just a very different experience at that point. Alright, I was wondering, was he going to move over? Is the road going back to one lane? I'm not really sure. This is definitely not a stretch of road I've driven nearly as often as, say again, Interstate 84 through Idaho, that is almost a every run occurrence. So the good news is, again, taking these empty pallets, they're not significantly heavy, and we can get moving at a good clip pretty quickly. Now we will have, once again, California is just that, also that max 55, so that's not going to change when we hit California, assuming we've not already done that. So this is about as fast as we're going to be able to go until we really start traversing through Arizona and New Mexico. So toward the tail end of the run, we'll be able to clip along a little bit better. But so yeah, we got more shadows here. We're seeing that same kind of stutter. So which obviously bodes as opposed to what I was debating. Could I turn some things up to improve the telephone wires? I think this is an example of where it almost seems like, yes, this is where I'm butting up against those areas where they really couldn't create the need for greater performance, and where I'd almost have to turn things down to get a smoother flow. That plane is, I think, a bit more visible than I recall.
Go straight on.
The planes being. Okay. Oh, we must have been in California for a while, because Ukiah is south of Eureka, so I believe. I don't know. I've clearly shown him. I don't have a great memory for the geography of the region yet, at least how the cities play out. I mean, obviously the main ones like Los Angeles or something, I certainly know, are at the southern end of California, and I certainly can tell you Ukiah and Eureka, like mixing Ukiah and Eureka together. I know they're in the northern area, but I may have the sequence flipped in my head or something. But I guess it is good to know that, hey, we're already well into California. So if I'm correct, we've passed Eureka, we passed Ukiah. San Rafael would be the next space we'd come through, which again, we didn't pull off to Discover before. I'm not going to pull off to Discover now, because the nature of the beast, we're not going to get any originations of loads there for anything that we're going to take right now, given that we're going for length. Now, I may, just because I don't know how the distances are going to play out once Wyoming is released and we're operating with that added to our world, I may start to intentionally then get the West Coast towns selected, because it is possible going across that somehow that might create something, but I think we'll find out pretty quickly if that does or not. And some of it will be things that I'll likely explore, maybe outside this profile, so that we kind of know going in if it's worth doing or not. While there may be a little bit of fun and experimenting in this profile, I think adding time to what are already long runs just for the sake of trying to capture on video the discovery, I'm not sure that is going to play well with the viewers of the channel, so I'll try to do my research. Oh, and there we go. It's bright enough. I didn't realize I didn't have headlights, and there we go. I have a headlight offense. So this is part of what I didn't terribly enjoy with the lighting system, is like I hit my button again. I believe I have my headlights on. I honestly don't know,
Go straight on.
other than not getting an offense, how I know if I really do in this lighting. All right, we still have 5 hours, so we can go till midnight or so. So I think we'll do that, because at this point, if I stop, I would be starting up at 6 a.m. or so anyway, which obviously will be daylight.
Go straight on.
But this is where you start to see kind of the light, and the way it it just comes off of everything. You've got the more orange or red hue to things. Even on the signs, everything's kind of taking on a tint that you would expect in sunrise or sunset. And I don't recall this really being that pronounced in the previous version of the game. So I just think they've done an excellent job in modeling things here, and that signs in shadow, which is great. So it just does an incredible job of upping the realism level in what they've done with the lighting system. And the stuff like this, like fog in the distance, you can start to see how that plays out over on the right onto the water. Just really a cool effect. A great job that they've done. So I'm real pleased with the experience that they've created here. So now we're on the underside of the bridge here. So we'll discover that little segment or sliver of road. Whoops. Whoa. Oh. It's just green. I thought that was like the fake wall thing, so I was jamming on my brakes like, oh my god, I'm going to have to merge into one lane, and I didn't see any sign or anything about that, but I guess I didn't have to merge into one lane, but alright. A little bit of unneeded panic, but as I said, have not driven this road a lot, and so I'm wondering if that, I don't know, if that was some sort of a toll plaza going the other way. I don't remember. So yeah, so the lights up on the sign, now we can start to see the effect of our headlights a little bit, but obviously we got flagged for the penalty an hour ago. It was only 7:30. Where now I can clearly see I need lights, but at that point it definitely becomes much more of a, hey, it's after 7, I better turn my lights on type of thing, which may be the reality in the world with truckers too, that they are like, hey, I can drive without lights longer. But does this road separate? I'm kind of looking at the route advisor. I guess it does a little bit, because I'm like, whoop, I'm in the car's buses lane. So again, hopefully I won't get penalized here, but it just didn't seem to make sense to slow down. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the logic is there. It's not like the turn was substantially more aggressive or anything. Don't know. But for some reason, that road is designed that way, and I assume they mimicked some real life example of that in this area. So I'm not a civil engineer. I don't know how to lay those things out. So all right, Oakland and San Francisco. So we will do that. 9 o'clock. Now you can start. So see the overhead lights, the street lights up above. You can kind of see this fuzzy glow around them, which, does reflect some reality. Okay, so we're going to exit here, and I think this is where we then move over.
Exit right.
And it's good because we'll be able to go through probably a little bit of a town or see some gas stations.
Turn left.
I was going to say, I know we have to go quite a ways, and then we'll have to make a big loop to discover Oakland. I mean, there is a port, there is some value there, but I don't know. It's just not going to do it. So alright, so let's just kind of take in what we've got around us. The diffusion of the lighting is kind of really what they did. You can kind of see that glow again around the street lights. The garage was a little further, but you can see, how on the surfaces, like the truck that was parked, it was a little different. Gas stations just have a little bit more realistic diffusion of light. We'll kind of look over a bit, go by slowly. So now you can see like what I assume are headlights or something kind of blinking up ahead, and I'm assuming it's because there's grass or something that we're passing through there, but it is a bit distracting. And I think, yeah, here right in front of us, I think are headlights or some sort of lights. Oh no, it's the back of a sign. Oh, I see, there was a bridge. So, and that's the thing of where, I guess the behavior's got to be that way, because obviously the light isn't coming through the railing of the bridge to my eye any more than it is, but just the effect in the game of that flicker is definitely something that I've noticed at night in the game here that I didn't see in 139. So it suddenly looks like, you're getting Morse code or something with lights as you drive at night.
Go straight on.
I just want to make sure it was still 55, because it's just, hard to tell here in the dark. It definitely gives you more of, a feel of that you could outrun your headlights than I think the previous version did as well. And you can also see there's that little cone of slightly darker off to the left that obviously is the impact of how the beams of your headlights work. Alright, so we didn't have much other than that gas station to kind of see. Whoa, coming up hotter than I would have liked. Ooh. Save that. That was good. That bus is definitely merging slowly, which is not great. Alright, so this looks like all brand new road discovery for us here. So we haven't come either way in this stretch. And again, while for certain Fresno has a lot of industry, we're not going to get an origination from there. So I'm not going to take the time it would take, because that's definitely a bit of a loop to go get that. So you can see the headlight in the mirror coming up, just how it behaves very, very differently from 139. So again, I encourage you, you probably have to go to some of the initial episodes, because we made that decision to not drive at night. But here comes another one, so you can see how it just kind of sweeps. Just a real cool effect, and I'm sure they spent a lot of time watching actual video of cars to kind of try to mimic that. But there's nothing that feels off about what was done there, which to me signals probably that they've done a really good job of honoring the real world function of what happens there. We've got the little warning lights on top. We're starting to yawn. So yeah, well, we'd like to drive a bit at night. I don't want to get a sleeping violation on top of my headlight violation. So probably the next rest stop and gas station that we can find. Again, we don't necessarily need gas, but if we can do it together, that would be great. And I think we'll be coming up on those Fresno exits, so I'm assuming there should be something right off of the road here. But we'll see what we come across. So yeah, it's definitely, kind of nuanced. It's not like it's in your face, but you can see how the guardrail's significantly brighter right away, right near me where the headlights are most intense. And obviously as the light diffuses further away, it very quickly becomes less reflective and less shiny. So, I'm gonna, it really doesn't look like there's any fuel or rest there, so I guess I can continue on here and maybe pass another vehicle or two.
Go straight on.
See, it looks like we just have some industry there, like the Texaco refinery, I think. Some of those icons are a little small, at least for me. Bargy. Now, there's a name for a bus company. I assume that's the owner's name or something. Don't know. I will say, talking about mods taking advantage of the new lighting and so forth, I will say I did see a promo ad, but it looks like it's for Euro Truck, because I've never heard of these guys in the mods for American Truck Simulator Pro Mods, where they already have a trailer out that they've got, a massive update that takes advantage of the new lighting textures and so forth. And I will say, the video looked impressive, but I am quite sure they're running it on hardware that has everything set to the max in the game, as it is. This is not great, because now I'm coming up on midnight, which I'm pretty sure I can't go much past that. I think I'm going to end up with a sleeping violation anyway. I would have thought here in California, with more population, that there would have been more gas and rest stops. I'm still hopeful. There's something just up there. There's a little bit. There's gas, which we can see actually lit up over there like a Christmas tree, but I don't see. What I'm most in need of right now is rest, and that I don't see. That's just a standalone gas station on that little road. Yeah, there's still no place to pull off and rest. Well, looks like Bob Trucker's going to have to push it a bit, and unfortunately the hours of service is not very forgiving, so once we pass a certain point, it's going to flag us for a speeding violation, but I don't think we're going to have an option, it looks like, because it is definitely pretty sparse here. Ask and ye shall receive. Question is, shall we receive it before we receive the violation? Because it's going to be tough, because even getting off here, like when you're on these routes, like you're on that increased time span, and I don't know where that exactly flips, but it went from, of course, now I'm like tempted to do unsafe driving because I don't want to get flagged, but yeah, so literally it's been 3 minutes while we've sat here, which again, when we're talking violations, whoa, I can see the route advisor, but my head's not processing it, because I'm like, suddenly the road's turning, but the route advisor clearly was telling me it was going to turn. So I am not going to get gas before I stop. I am immediately going to go and try to rest here to try to avoid any penalties. All right. I was going to say, I don't want to go too far in. All right. We amazingly did avoid a sleeping violation. All right. So again, during the day, seeing, like on the dash, I did cycle twice, but my guess is you'd have no idea that any of the lights change, because now in the daylight, the dashboard is so awash or the cab, I should say, really, because the dash is in shadow. But even though the dash is in shadow, I think they simulate the light effect that it would have. But you can see how the light kind of crawls across the steering wheel and the display. Again, it's definitely, I don't know, maybe I'm noticing it more because I know there were lighting changes, so I'm, staring at it and noticing it, but I just don't remember it as vividly creeping across the dashboard as it does now. Not sure. I think I'm going to have to, pull away when I do that, which is okay. But let's fill up. That way we can run a full day here without having to fuel up again. All right. And obviously, we do want to be going this way anyway. So, yes, my fuel expenses are handled by my employer. Got that window out the back of the sleeper. That's helpful with this angle. So that was nice, assuming that I would see a car coming there, that they wouldn't have not rendered it in the sleeper window, but... Oop. Hi, sir. I hope you understand I'm a big truck. I don't want to take out your sign back there, so sorry for cutting you off, but it's the reality of Bob Trucker. I've got to drive this thing safely. I don't want to take out infrastructure in your community. Alright, so we're coming up on Fresno. I'm not sure we're even truly halfway done with our trip yet, but we'll see. I mean, the benefit here, certainly, compared to the last run we had, where we had the harvester, and then we obviously were going through a lot of secondary roads, so it just took longer. This has been at least on 55-mile-an-hour roads basically the entire time, so we may have made some pretty good progress and gotten near halfway, but either way, we obviously need to drive until we deliver. So, but midweek, Wednesday, blue skies in California, certainly, part of the joys of being a trucker, just out here enjoying the beautiful weather. And I'm not going to try to see what the temperature is. Again, the screen I'm on, things aren't that large, so I'd have to hit the zoom key, and obviously doing that while driving is not going to have a good result. So we're not going to do it. So what is it? I assume it's California Route 99 that we're on. I think that's what that sign is. I'm definitely glad I pulled off when I did, because, again, we have a lonely gas station there. No rest stop. Oh, there's one there, but they were separated, so I would have had to pull off, rest, then drive back up to get gas, or probably likely decide, I'm not going to bother. Plus, that looks like a really small rest stop. So, well, I guess there's like a center section, so there may have been enough room to maneuver and turn around there. Because I was going to say I likely would have just foregone the gas and said, no, I'm going to get back on the freeway and move along, and then find something further on down the road, since I still had basically a half a tank of gas at the time. But unless, once again, they've sized the tanks on this to not go an entire 14-day run, or 14-hour run, should be okay until we have to, rest and fuel. in tandem again. Given this is a sleeper cab truck, you would hope that they also put some larger fuel tanks on it, figuring you're taking longer runs, and it's not a day cab where, hey, I'm gonna run a 125-mile run and take the truck back to the yard or something where they can fill it up. Hey, fellow Walmart trailer.
Keep right, and then exit right.
Oh well, I guess. And now, of course, there's a car back there, so I was gonna say I'm gonna either hit the wall as I'm looking in my mirror.
Exit right.
That was less pleasant than I would have liked. And yeah, sure, there you go. Rest stops there, but we would have had to stay on the interstate, which obviously wouldn't make sense. Keep calling them interstates. So sorry, I certainly know better. As someone who lives in the U.S., these are not interstates. They are, at best, freeways or highways. Because, yeah, it's a state route, not an interstate. So, the interstates are those red, white, and blue shields. Then there's only some, certainly a lot less of them than there are other type of roads. But I'm just kind of using it of, hey, I'm traveling, with no traffic lights, stop signs, at a high rate of speed. So I keep calling it an interstate, but it's technically wrong. Welcome to Bakersfield. But we have come this way before, and obviously already discovered said town of Bakersfield. So, but it'll give us again an option to experience a populated area in the new lighting engine. Turning yellow, turning red. No such luck as being able to get the light. Okay. Whoops, I almost tapped the gas. I saw green. I'm like, time to go. But that's just the turn lane, which we're not in. There we go. Definitely light traffic here, midday, Bakersfield. Nobody pulled up to the right of us. Interesting, to say the least. So yeah, again, we've got a dealer and a garage, I believe. Or that actually might be a recruiting station across from. I don't remember. Either way, I'm not going to go discover anything. But yeah, I think it is a garage and a recruiting station across the street from it, which is, oh boy. Alright. That was close for a red light violation, but alright. Out of Bakersfield. On the open road. Now we're heading out east, starting to traverse in that direction. So we have turned the corner, if nothing else. The oil pumps are not running. I've definitely not noticed in-game if you can go buy something like that, and at times they aren't running, and at other times they are. I'm assuming they once again didn't do something like that. That there's just some oil pumps they have set up and they're always running, and things like this where at this point they're not running, and I'll never see them running in game, which also kind of mimics reality sometimes, because sometimes you've got these out tumbleweeds. Oh, yeah, I haven't seen tumbleweeds in the new lighting system, so that was kind of cool. They were definitely more shadowed on the bottom. But as I said, once again, am I noticing that because I'm intentionally focusing on, hey, what does the light do with this object? Than I was before, where it was just, here's this game experience, and just like in real life, you're not, what does the sun look like on the tumbleweed as it goes across the road? It's just, you observe it, and that's it. But so I think I'm just more aware because I know we're in a new environment. But, at this point, we've kind of gone through a 24-hour cycle within the game. So you've kind of experienced probably most of what we'll see with the lighting engine. I'm sure there's unique places that, excuse me, bit of a real life yawn there, but there's places that we'll probably see some unique lighting effects. Like, I'm sure if we're at the Grand Canyon at the right time, I'm sure the new lighting engine, that would look very different than with the old one. But I think I've only stopped at the Grand Canyon one time, certainly, and looked at the viewpoint, I know for certain, one time. So please don't make me exit now that I've moved over to the left. All right. So yeah, this is again where I'm not entirely familiar. I have a vague idea. We came south, kind of made this L shape was what our delivery route was, and now we're going down the bottom of the L. But I just don't know that we truly just kind of stay on this road across, or do we jump down south to an interstate, or what happens? Because I do believe there really isn't, I'm almost 100% certain there isn't an interstate anywhere near us to the north. So our only hope would really be, unless we catch an interstate that's running north-south, that we'd obviously be, crossing at in the direction we're headed. We may do that and then take that south, and hit an interstate first. But otherwise, I think we'd have to jump down, and I don't know. I'm assuming it'd be Interstate 10. That is our only real option here, or I think Interstate 5 has a piece of something, but that goes along east-west, even though that would be a north-south. Again, the odd-numbered interstates, if you're not aware, in the U.S., odd numbers are north-south interstates, and even numbers are east-west interstates. So you can tell, what you're on based on that. But, of course, sometimes an east-west interstate goes north-south for a little while, and a little while can be many, many miles. It's not going to be hundreds and hundreds of miles in one stretch, but, there are times you'll be on, just like what I've mentioned there, I-5, at the bottom of California, I think does go east-west a bit. And I think it may continue east-west for a ways, because we've got the southern border of the United States there. So it really can't continue north-south. So, okay, so here we go, 15. And we're going to have to take it, I assume, to the left. So we're going to go north. Interesting. So heading up toward Barstow. Well, it doesn't tell me to slow down here, so I'm going to chance it and see if I feel that I'm unable to hold the turn. But right now, we're gripping it, and I think we're slowing down because we're going uphill. We're not slowing down, but we're certainly not speeding up. So, all right. So, yep, there is Barstow. So yeah, this would be typically north-south, but I'm thinking it's running a bit of east-west here if I remember my geography and how this goes, but I could be entirely wrong, so. If you're terribly interested, I guess you can look at your map, but I'm just going to drive and do my job. Because the GPS will let me know what I need to do. So, definitely, whoa. Is this hill going to slow me down enough? Yes, alright. That time being a truck helped me. I think it's, yeah.
And then turn right.
I was going to say, it's going to want me to exit here, and once again, I'm not in a position to do so, so I'm literally going to have to stop here. Alright, it is 2 lanes. Nice balloons. Alright, I'm going to leave that signal on because no, wrong way. Like I have to merge. I thought it was blinking to the left. Couldn't tell exactly where it was on the dashboard. Alright. So now we are on I-40. Interesting. So we are, I guess, further north than I thought. So maybe we're delivering this to... So I thought we were delivering it to Roswell. We may be, but I guess we are. Okay. Because Roswell's down south, but so I'm assuming somewhere we're still going to jaunt down. Maybe we're going to go across and like head down by Santa Fe or something. Because yeah, at this point we are on an east-west interstate, so we're headed toward Arizona. I just don't remember if this cuts us through Nevada or not, but I guess we'll see. Right now, we're 55, so I'm pretty confident we're still in California. Of course, we just left Barstow, which I know is in California, so. Yeah, but the desert definitely is much more vibrant in the new lighting engine, I think. Got a plane flying overhead right down the road. Pretty cool. Don't know that I've certainly seen it flying when I've come the other way. He's starting to vanish into the cloud, as far as the perspective being further away, but I think he circles around, and so he may suddenly become visible again as he slows down and turns, but maybe not. And I don't think he goes straight for long enough that he'll circle around and do it again, but it may prove me very wrong. We'll see. But yeah, I kind of remember it just being a little bit more beige, I suppose, as opposed to kind of a bright tan, which certainly, in the afternoon heat, got some vultures out there flying around, which again, they don't move in the game. They're always kind of in the same places, so they've got like an endless supply of carcasses, I guess, in the game that lets them stay there and not starve to death. So, alright, way station. Well, we don't don't get to not do this one, so, which I would have been surprised. Yeah, we got flagged on the other one on the other side, so don't know, but I'm going to call this the first section of road where we've gotten both the road and the way station, partly because it discovers both together here, which is also a little abnormal. So we get to take advantage of that, but I'm going to call this as the first point in the game where we have sorry, I'm going to say something about the icon, so it distracted my thinking, but this is the first point in the game where we've discovered both the pull-off and the interstate on both sides completely. So I may be wrong. Maybe we did that somewhere else, but I don't think so. So I'm going to call this as the first time in Trucking Story that that's happened. So an accomplishment. Now, what I was going to say, I could have brought it up at the gas station. I didn't. The icons are definitely less bright. To me, the icons never bothered me. I know they do to some people because they're like, hey, I'm in the real world. I don't have floating icons above things. So I think they've asked SCS, and obviously SCS took them up on it because they're definitely less what those people would call obnoxious, where you can see them a mile away. They're much more muted in how they're presented, which is fine. It's neither here nor there for me. I was okay the other way. It helped, as you're driving up on something in a gas station when they were brighter in the other engine, like, oh, they're floating there, that's where I need to go. Where here you really almost need to look at the route advisor, see where it's at, or just get a lot closer before you really see it. So getting a little hillier here as we're heading east. Yeah, the call boxes, which definitely do exist. I've driven a little bit out west here, and if you get stuck, I don't know, I want to say I remember they're like 2 or 3 miles apart, so they're not insanely distant, but they're also almost certainly not every mile. So that way, if you have a breakdown out here in the middle of the desert where it can be pretty dangerous, get hot pretty quickly, and just exposure issues for certain. If you're not helped, they have call boxes, and they have them in, I've seen them in Florida too, but this isn't something that exists in every state for certain, where you can pull over and make a call. I've never used one and never researched them enough, so I'm assuming that they just ring. You pick them up and they just automatically dial and ring to whether it's 911 or that I don't know, but somebody who can help you. Now, there were 2 call boxes. They're very close together, so either the developers did something wrong, or I'm wrong, I guess, maybe. But normally, yes, you wouldn't have 2 show up that quickly. So yeah, this will be, although I think this is a fuel stop, so sometimes those do get illuminated fully as we pass, so we may have a second point here now that, yep, we do, that is fully discovered on both sides. Look at this. We're doing some, in the grand scheme of things, not that terribly impressive things, but I'm excited. I just like making progress toward completing actions, when I'm doing sims and things like this. So any little segment that, hey, we haven't seen before and we get to turn yellow, gets me excited, like that one that we just changed. So, all right. So I'm hoping once we hit Arizona or Nevada that we will be able to increase our speed and move along a little quicker and get our load of pallets to Roswell. I think it said we were taking them to FedEx, so they may be getting shipped further. And there we go. Speak of the devil, into Arizona we are. And there we go. Also what we wanted. So,
Go straight on.
a 20-mile-an-hour opportunity in speed limit increase. I will gladly take it. So we get ourselves to 80. We'll see if we do get ourselves to 80, but that is what we are attempting to do right now. But that should eat up the miles quicker, and that is always a good thing. Because while I'm sure you enjoy, if you're watching these videos, obviously you're enjoying watching something like this, but I'm sure just like in real life, we all rather get to our destination sooner rather than later. Especially in a sim where I'm a trucker and this is a job and not a pleasure drive. Certainly if I'm driving the Blue Ridge Parkway or something as a tourist, I may want to be more leisurely and the drive itself is the destination.
Go
But
straight on.
in this case, I'm just getting from point A to point B with these empty pallets. So alright. Drifted a little bit there. I was like turning the wheel, but I didn't want to turn too sharply and then create a tipping problem. But we're by Kingman. Okay, so we were going north-south a bit, and now we're headed, finally we are going east-west. So
Go straight on.
so yeah, I guess again I was somewhat proven a bit wrong in what was happening there. But obviously just near the border since we passed the sign, but yeah, now we've got to move along. Now at this point I'm pretty confident we're past halfway, so we'll see again what type of length this turns into from a video episode standpoint. Alright. This is almost borderline too fast. At least it's making me a little nervous with some of these turns and the guardrail right there, because there's just not a large margin for error. And I definitely have had my share of running into guardrails and flipping trucks out here in the desert in Arizona, New Mexico, places like that. So I was going to move to the right, but I'm closing on this car pretty quickly. So now as I say that, it's probably going to take me 10 actual minutes to catch him or something. That would be crazy, but we'll see. Is he going to pull out left around this truck, or is he going to stay tucked in there? Because I was going to say the truck pulled to the left. Really? I guess he is, in theory, passing the Pepsi truck, but so, as they like to call them, turtle races. So here we go. It's usually more apropos and I think used more often in the mountains, but obviously it can happen anywhere, and right now it's happening in the deserts of Arizona. So very disappointing, Mr. Sentex. believe that's who's in front of us.
Go straight up.
I get he wants to get by the Pepsi truck. I do like that dark blue trailer. I don't think you get to actually haul Pepsi in the game, whatever those are, because some of the other things, like obviously we've, passed a Walmart truck, we've passed a FedEx truck just went by us on the other side there. We've certainly hauled FedEx and Walmart trailers. I believe you can haul a Centex trailer. It's just a lot of what I've taken to or from Centex locations have been equipment. So I've not had a dry van, but like Georgia Pacific, I don't think we're able to get those trailers. I think those are just in the pack, and whatever was modeled, whatever trailer they overlay is not a trailer model, or not model, but a trailer company we can haul. I believe I've had a Texaco trailer, so I think that's possible. All right, nearly up to speed after we had to slow down for the turtle race, but
Go straight up.
we will see where we go from here. Exit 146. I always get, it's just something that never sticks in my head of when I'm going east. Do the numbers go down at that point, or are they going up? I think they go down, because I think basically the system starts from like the northeast of the country. So I think as you go south and as you go west, the miles increase. All right, like I don't have my light on. Yeah, it's almost 8. Luckily we didn't get flagged. No, I do like the little yellow markers in the medians. You can see they just kind of appear when the reflection off our headlight is just right, and then they fade away before we pass them, which again is accurate. So those little attention to detail with the lighting engine is pretty cool. How they just made sure you do that, and maybe it's easier to do than I anticipate, because you don't have to say, hey, reflector will be this. It just maybe the reflector happens to have a certain kind of surface, and that surface is reflective. So they may have already made it a little easier for themselves in how they've modeled things in the game, but I don't know. I just do like that. It's an effect I haven't seen before, or at least hadn't noticed. I think I passed the cop right as that dropped to 65, so I'm pretty lucky I didn't get flagged. I think it jumps right back up here, which is why I'm not slowing down. But of course, as I say that, it's going to prove me wrong, and I'm going to go flying off the road or get a ticket. I don't know. But right now I'm going to chance it.
Go straight up.
Alright, so we're going by Flagstaff. So yes, I do think... I don't know. I'm assuming they're basically going to bring us down by Santa Fe, but I could be entirely off. I don't know. Alright, we are up to 75 again, which is the more important immediate piece of concern. And then, we should start looking for a rest and fuel stop. I guess I just passed one in Flagstaff, silly me. I mean, again, I think we can go to nearly midnight, so it's not like we can't, but now that it's officially gotten dark, I'd like to do that, and then we will, I believe, finish our delivery on Thursday. So the problem is, now that we've passed Flagstaff, how far do we need to go before we see any opportunity for relaxation and refueling? Couldn't quite make out what that van was. So, alright. Well, out here in the lonesome desert at night, just cruising along. Looking for somewhere to take a rest. Another Texaco trailer, but a flatbed? Or just a... Well, that may actually just be a bobtail run with no trailer. That may be what we've got. I don't see a whole lot of those. Oh, you know what? That's a tanker. Just can't tell with the lights and the lighting. Yeah, I can see the bottom of it, but it's not illuminating the top. But now that he's pulled over, yes, it's much more obvious. Well, we are speeding up a bit, but it definitely takes a while at this top end. I see some lights, or at least some billboards, so. And there is an exit. Does the exit have what we need? I'm gonna be optimistic and say it does. Let's see. Is that like a 2-mile sign? Because that was a long way for not seeing the exit. Holbrook. Oh boy, there may be something, but is it convenient? Yeah, it's not too bad, I guess. I'm going to take a peek because I don't know that I want to exit here. So I see... Oh no, okay. Just because I'm seeing the gas station. Oh, I see. I'm seeing the gas station off to the right. But I need to go to the left. That just hadn't appeared yet because that's right. And that gas station to the right is just a gas station. So that was my feeling, was like, do I want to exit? Because I'd like to rest as well. Ooh, I think I'm actually in the lane. If I'm not, I'm really close. So, not a great stop.
Okay, let's find a new route.
I was going to say, clearly I've been on and off here. I think it looks like I heading the other way. I stopped here too. But we'll end up discovering this segment of road, which we had not before. So we'll have that done.
Turn right.
I don't want to turn right. I'm going to go straight because I'm going to get gas first. Now, here's a perfect example.
Make a U-turn.
I think, yeah, there they are. Because, yeah, although this says do not enter, but, so once again, because I don't know, maybe truckers rest and then fuel. Maybe that's why I'm always doing this backwards. Because I'm always like, no, I just want to take off in the morning. So I always prefer get fuel, then go rest, and then I can just go. But who knows? But I also wonder if trucks do this as well. Do they just be like, hey, I'm coming in this way? Even though it says I should enter the pumps the other way, I'm coming in this way. Don't know. Okay, so I'm assuming, yeah, there we go. I was going to say, this is just like a single lane park behind the shed or something. Alright, so we did stop early enough. Now it's at least like earlier in the day, because yesterday we didn't really get going till after 10, I think, because of how late we had stopped. So I think there are some pumps here that we want to avoid. We can't actually get out except by going to the right. So
a new route.
Okay, nobody coming down the hill, nobody coming that way.
Turn right.
So, good news is we'll have gotten the entire interchange discovered here. Done all the on and off ramps. Just at some point coming past Holbrook,
And then turn left.
we've got that one segment of undiscovered road, the way the exits to setup is here, that
Turn left.
we'll have to get. This is it? Well, okay. We were coming up on it faster and in a stranger way than I thought, so it definitely had me confused. But yeah, that segment, so I guess coming west at some point, maybe we'll get a route that we won't exit there, and we'll discover that tiny segment and get that checked off of our things to do list. Alright, so we are still 75. I guess now I will take a peek. So 453 miles, so still got a good ways, probably at least a half hour of real time to go that far, but it is within mileage distance to be done within a 14-hour cycle, so we should be delivering today, unless something really goes wrong or unless I've truly miscalculated. But this is mainly all interstate or freeway now, so I'm quite confident we'll be there. Because what if we're going 70, let's just say 70 miles an hour, because we'll probably have to slow down to 65 at some point. Yeah, 7 hours or less. So afternoon, we should be there 3-4 o'clock, something. You know, it's probably way too specific for as quick as time moves in this game, but we will be there today for certain, because we can, you know, again, drive till 9 at night. It's definitely not going to take us that long. But yeah, typically I've found just, you know, even with the mix of road types and so forth, 600 miles is about a daily drive, which is why these nearly 1,800 mile trips are taking us 3 days within the game, because that would be about right, you know, and we'll certainly likely at times maybe even, you know, jump to 4, but simply because, you know, hey, if I'm starting at 5 or 6 p.m., which is maybe what the next episode will be, given what we're talking about pulling in here. You know, I may only drive for an hour or two that first day and then pull off. Oh boy. So we discovered a viewpoint. On the other side, it looks like, in the rest area, so obviously not something we can get to. But here we go. A new New Mexico viewpoint, because these did not exist in this state prior to 1.40. All right, so only had to pull in 143 with way stations on this trip, definitely allowing us to just drive along, so I appreciate that. The way station spirits have been with us. That is a giant area that they don't let you actually obtain rest in. I mean, physically, yes, you could, you know, the way it's rendered, I could pull off and stop, but there's no icon there, so wow. But I am in New Mexico at this point, so The delivery point is upon us. There we go, down to 65, but likely just because we're passing through Gallup, so. And I'm also barely at 5 miles above the limit anyway, so I am not going to touch my cruise, and I'm going to take my chances, because that's the way I'm feeling today, so. Because, yeah, I think as soon as we get up and around this hill, we're going to be back up to 75, so. Actually, I think it's this little S-curve that it does stay slow through, because I do think this is a little bit of a tight curve. We'll have to see. It is got some camber to it, though, so helps us make the turn at speed, which is always appreciated. And there I saw the 75 sign, and there our route advisor changed, and there, of course, the AI gets in our way, and still haven't hit my brake. He may actually do what he should do. All right. Thank you. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Because at this point, I'm just on a mission. I just want to be done. Oh, it's like a radio station out to the right. Interesting. Don't know that I've noticed that before. Maybe it's the new lighting. It makes it more obvious. I don't know. But for some reason, I saw that red and white tower. I'm like, that looks like an antenna of some sort. And yeah, it certainly does appear that that was what it was. So, grab some water here. Oops, sorry, drifting a bit as I'm reaching to put my water back where it sits. A little bit of too much reality in the game there, just like, hey, putting my drink back in the cup holder, and had to stretch a little farther. And no, I don't have a cup holder here next to me, but yeah, it's a little ways away, just because that's the reality of the space I'm in. So sorry for that drift, but luckily we didn't hit any of the little reflector markers. I think that's what those are, the things that we were seeing appear off our headlights. It's taken a little bit, partially I think just because of the terrain, but yeah, we're just not able to get all the way up to 80. We are fighting it at this the high end of our gearbox. We just don't have the torque, I think, to do this that fast, but getting close. 77. Yeah, this is the rest area with like little spots everywhere. I've pulled in there once. The reason it's, I think, rendered that way is they are like 4 little islands separated by tiny roads that connect them. So I think that's why it shows up as 4 individual spots, because likely the way the game engine works, they couldn't do it with one, otherwise those other pull-offs you'd not be able to rest in. So because otherwise I think they would have had to have made the little connecting roads places you could stop and rest, and for realism they probably said, nah, we're not going to do that. Like, obviously a truck's not going to park here all night, and then other trucks can't get in and out of the space. So is this Phoenix? I'm not sure. I'm trying to test my memory here. I'm I'm assuming since we went down to 65, we're coming up on some sort of populated area again. And I believe that would be Phoenix, because Tucson would be south of us. Oh, it's Albuquerque. Yeah, I'm in New Mexico. Stupid me. Phoenix is in Arizona, so yeah. Never mind. Alright, so Albuquerque, which means we are already south of Santa Fe, so I guess we really weren't coming down. So obviously I have no clue where I-40 goes across. But anyway, there's Route 25, which takes us up to Santa Fe if we were heading that way, but we're not, so we're going to keep left as she's telling us to do. I thought that was Kentucky Fried Chicken for a while, but that billboard was not Kentucky Fried Chicken, so. Which would have surprised me, because I'm like, I don't think I've seen a Kentucky Fried Chicken billboard. I don't think they exist in the billboard pack that I'm using. There's a Coca-Cola, and I think I've seen a McDonald's, at least a small one, like in a city. I don't know that I've seen a big one on an interstate, but yeah, I think that's like a drainage ditch, because they'll get torrential downpours out here. Oh, I better be careful, because it's 65, but I am set to go to 80, and if I get to 71, that police officer will flag me. So I think if I hit 70, I may lower the cruise. So, apologize for the cough suddenly coming up. I guess that is the reality. I'm certainly not feeling like I'm getting sick. I think I'm just coughing because I've been talking. I'm dry a little bit, but I suppose just like in real life, that would render a delivery impossible to make. I suppose if at some point in the future I actually do get physically sick, I may have to skip a week, because if I'm coming off where I know I'm coughing, I definitely don't want to create an episode where literally every 5 minutes you're listening to me cough. So obviously we're getting close to the end here, and hopefully we can keep the coughing at bay. Not really feeling like I need to do anymore, so hopefully we're through the worst of it. Yeah, we slowed down going up that hill, but whoa, I was worried that car was going to dive in front of that police officer, and then he was going to dive in front of me, but luckily he didn't. So we were up to 75, now we're back down to 65 again. Goodness gracious. This thing is terrible. I was going to say, they're merging down to 2 lanes. Now we're going to go back to 75, and my guess is we'll just drop right back to 65. So, see you later, officer. I may literally see you later. We'll see. But yeah, we should be exiting shortly to go head south to Roswell. So, and again, if you recall, I think we've been through Roswell, but a lot of intersections, so depending on where the drop-off point is, I think it's usually right before you get into town. I don't recall that there's much on the other side of town as far as industry to actually go to, so that may be it as the depot. But again, I think that the rail depot is definitely right as we come in. I don't know. I guess we'll see, because we're not going there, we're going to FedEx. So, okay, a new viewpoint. Let's see. Again, on the other side, so. And yeah, with New Mexico being flat and desert, I suppose you're going to have a lot of these just desert viewpoints. I'm not quite sure what there is to see here, but when I get an opportunity, I can pull off and find out, I suppose. I've not seen that they've added any achievements in Steam, where I think, I don't remember if it was, I think it was Idaho, that if you stopped and activated all the viewpoints, there was an achievement for that. And I think that probably was because Idaho was the first state where they introduced achievements or viewpoints. So I'm thinking they were just, whoops, he's pulling off too.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's why they did that, because they wanted to encourage people and incentivize them to stop and kind of get used to viewpoints, so that obviously the plan they had was to introduce them in places that they didn't have them before. And so to build that excitement, it's like, yeah, let's get people used to them so that it's worthwhile to add achievements later, because they'll want them. Alright, so yes, this is that last little bit of road that gets us down to Roswell. So we're on track for that delivery time that I talked about. Now we were at, what, 80? That gets us down to 70. That gets us down to 60. So we should be okay. Again, I can't really tell because the dash is in shadow. It's hard to see given the weird 1980s dashboard that Volvo decided to use with the orange background. And I don't understand, but it's what we've got in this truck. And one of the main, probably the main reason that I would not buy a Volvo when I get to the point of buying a truck. Because there's really nothing I like about these. They've got the, I'll turn it on, you've got your GPS like sticking out of the dashboard up on top instead of being in the dashboard like every other manufacturer. But so yeah, the good thing, I suppose, is yes, if you like uniqueness, the Volvo certainly gives you that. So I guess I don't like uniqueness, at least in my trucks. So alright, and I think we have to... Now this is the way station that is at the end of the road, so we'll see if we go 2 for 4 or 1 for 4. Praying for 1 for 4, but I don't think so. We have a viewpoint there, so if we do get pulled in, we will activate that viewpoint, so you get a chance to... Oh, we get to bypass it. I don't think I've ever bypassed this one, but I am going to take advantage of that, and we'll check out that viewpoint another day. Because, yeah, this is that crazy one where, especially coming from this direction, you kind of have to, force your way into the other traffic, which obviously we're somewhat going to have to do anyway, given that we're trying to merge with it. But, so I'm going to just try to turn into the left lane and hope that I can do that without affecting anybody. It looks like we're safe. What was that? That was so weird. Again, it was like a horn. I think it might be where it happened before. It gets me every time. I have no idea what that sound is in the game. It's not like my bypass surface changed. It finally went away now. So it's not like it's a tone for that appearing or going away. I don't understand. Alright, so we were at 60. Gets us to 70, 75. And we should, actually, I think there is enough distance that we might be able to get up to that. So this truck right now has got more momentum because, yeah, we're not quite at 60 yet in a 70. So he was probably coming from straight on behind us as opposed to coming from where we did with the turn and having to accelerate. So hence his ability to pull forward. Oh, it's interesting. He's got like a toolbox between his two rear axles there. That's a real intriguing setup, honestly. But you can see the reflection in the toolbox. Pretty cool. The shadows on the road and so forth. So pretty nice. All right, but there we go. Now that we're up to 75, now we pass him because he's being a good trucker and staying fully within the speed limit. But I want to coax that few extra miles an hour out of my runs so that I can exceed expectations, especially on JIT deliveries like we're on. Because when do we need to have this here? Friday afternoon. We're a full day early. Look at that. That is crazy. But anyway, so 3 o'clock is coming up. Pretty sure, so I might be pretty close. I think I said 3 or 4. But yeah, maybe we'll be closer to 5, but still. It's not bad for a mental estimate when I didn't really know when it was telling us we'd get there. But I think we're coming right up on Roswell here. Oh no, this is an overpass that we can't actually get on. The speed does slow down here again, but then I do think... Okay, I guess the overpass we actually can, but do we have to? I don't remember. Guess we'll find out. Is this SUV gonna exit? Yep. So I was curious because I think that was a trooper, so I did get lucky that he didn't still decide to ticket me for going 20 miles an hour over. But so that truck is slowing down to let... I was going to say I can't quite identify these, plus I think I'm getting close. Yep, there we go. So we have our delivery point.
Go straight on.
I guess I will do that because otherwise I'd really have to stop pretty hard to merge, and at this point it still does appear to be on the outskirts of town near my previous delivery point. I just didn't remember there was a FedEx right there. Not very observant, I guess. So yeah, these cars are probably like, he's left his light on, turn signal on at the light, he just forgot to turn it off. So I'm sure their behavior will be not letting you in, but we'll see. But there's a truck back there, so the question is, can I outrun it? I think I can. All right. I was a little panicked for a while, like, were there 3 cars or only 2? Sounds like a Dirty Harry line. Just Dirty Harry is a trucker. Did you see 3 cars or only 2? Do you feel lucky, punk? Do ya? So there you go. That's my Dirty Harry impression. After he's retired from being a hitman and moved on to being a trucker. Getting a little slap happy here. It's definitely time to get out of this truck. So, donuts. What's not to like about donuts? That's a nice high-rise here in Roswell. Don't know if that's just an office building, a hospital. Don't know that I'll know. I don't know that I care enough to... Let's see. I guess we're slowing down, so let's see.
Turn right.
It's the Sun West Center, so I assume it might be a convention center even. So yeah, I know there's when I was doing the beta, I did stop at the viewpoint here in Roswell, because again, this is the town that is known for aliens, so I kind of wanted to see what it would show. It was entertaining, but again, trying to deliver. So I'm like totally lost, because obviously I delivered here before and it was FedEx. Somehow I thought there was a BNSF depot here. And that's what I had delivered to, and that I didn't know where FedEx was. But
Turn right.
so anyway,
You have arrived at your destination.
you can't take me anywhere because I clearly don't know what I'm doing. I just sound like a fool all the time. Alright, so there's our delivery point. So we will just pull past. Give ourselves plenty of room. And let's go to it. A little too high of an angle there. Weird flicker again, which I assume is part of the lighting. I almost started too early, so now I'm like, what do I want to do? Because I need to give myself enough room by this wall. Alright, I'm going to misjudge this again, because that's just what I do. So, you're always looking. This is a little late for a backup lesson in episode 12, but anyway, you're always looking for those back wheels, because that's really your pivot point as far as where the trailer turns. So that kind of gives you that directionality that you need to set. I think I can move it a little bit further, because yeah, I was going to say I knew I was just a bit too far. Just straighten it out here. Should be okay. So I think we'll just drive this back. It's moving a little bit to the whatever, right, I guess, left. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Forgot I'm going backwards. So anyway, we will decouple. And look at this, we'll get this video done in under 2 hours, likely. I don't think I'm going to spend too long. So 1721 from Coos Bay to Roswell, 4,000 experience. Alright, so we've got that there. We are an entrepreneur, which I think we became at level 15. And at this point, we'll go ahead and increase fragile cargo, because that is the highest percentage I can get. Again, clear out our upgrades like we normally do. And so we've hit level 16, and that will do it for this episode of Trucking Story. See you next time.